Kia ora, and welcome to this second lesson on the periodic table as part of the Chemistry in 48 Hours series. Quickly revising what we did last time, the periodic table shows all the elements. This one has been slightly simplified. We have left out the lanthanides and the actinides. Elements are the simplest substances known. They can't be broken down further using chemical methods. The horizontal rows on the periodic table are called periods, and the vertical rows are called groups. Looking at the types of elements we can get, last time we looked at metals, this time we'll look at nonmetals and the metalloids. First, what are metals? Because we're going to compare the nonmetals to the metals. Metals are lustrous, ductile, they can be drawn into wires, malleable, can be hammered into shapes, thermal conductors, and conductors of electricity. Nonmetals are the opposite, so they don't have the properties of metals. They're not lustrous, they're not ductile, they're poor conductors of heat and electricity. They tend to be brittle in solid form, so they'll be powders or they'll break very easily. And many are also gases at room temperature. There are exceptions, like some forms of carbon. Graphite, for instance, conducts electricity, and diamond is an excellent conductor of heat. That is actually one of the ways you can test that you have a diamond instead of a fake. Here are some examples of nonmetals. So on the left you'll see the carbon, two forms of carbon. Graphite is a dark black, which can conduct electricity, but you'll notice it doesn't look like a metal. And the diamond. There are also forms of phosphorus. There's white phosphorus, which burns very easily and is very dangerous. It's used in bombs. And then the red phosphorus, which is used in matches. Then on the second to the right, you've got the yellow sulfur, two different forms of sulfur there. And on the very right, you've got the yellow-green fluorine, and you'll notice it's a gas, and the reddish-brown bromine, and you'll notice that's a liquid. What are metalloids? Metalloids are elements that look like metals and have some of the properties of metals as well as properties of non-metals. Metalloids is not a strict term, it's quite vague, and you'll find different people might classify different elements as metalloids. As an example, they can be shiny and malleable, like silicon is shiny, but they won't be conductors of heat or electricity. Silicon is a semiconductor, it doesn't conduct very well. So here are the examples of the metalloids. Boron on the left, you can see the top one, it looks more metal-like. Silicon, you can see it's shiny and looks metal-like, so is germanium, and selenium also looks a bit like iron, but doesn't have all the properties of metals. Another way we can classify the elements is whether at room temperature they are solids, and you'll notice most of them are solids, all the metals are, apart from one exception. We have the gases, all those, hydrogen is a gas, that's on the top left, as well as a few there on the far right. And then we also have two liquids at room temperature, which is mercury, it's the only metal that's a liquid, and bromine, the only non-metal that's a liquid at room temperature. Time for practice. So pause the video and see if you can fill in the missing words. Here are the answers. So columns in the periodic table are called groups and rows are called periods. What do you find on the left-hand side? You find metals. What do you find on the top right-hand side? Non-metals. Solids are found on the left to bottom right hand side, so more or less where the metals are, and gases are found on the very top right and the very far right actually as well of the periodic table. Finally, time for tips. Learn the elements by group, and we're going to do this in the next few lessons. It'll really help your chemistry. For interest, TED has got a short lesson on every element in the periodic table, which are really interesting, so you're welcome to go and look at those videos. And finally, time for a joke. Goodbye. See you in the next lesson.